European Championship as we look at our pole sitter Daniel Kvyat, and alongside him Raffaele Marciello, whose qualifying meant that he's been further down the grid order than would be expected from him for the first two races, but all comes good potentially in race 3 as he is on the front row of the grid. Raffaele Marciello then the current points leader, although Felix Rosenqvist is the man that has encroached upon the lead that Raffaele Marciello has in the points by taking some fine points over the course of the first two races. So Marciello right at the top of the table on 229.5 points, with Rosenqvist now chasing hard on 162. Jordan King there is next that we see. Some impressive performances from Jordan King yesterday. P4 on the grid. Weather conditions, as I've just literally jogged up from the TV compound. Well, bright sunshine at the moment, and you can see the blue sky there through the clouds, but there is some drizzle that is falling. So there is Nicholas Latifi, the Carlin driver. Nicholas Latifi then P5 on the grid. And alongside Latifi will be Lucas Wolf. And they're looking through the rear wing of Lucas Wolf, the URD Rennsport driver. Looking through the wing of his car. Away from Lucas Wolf. Now, Daniel Kvyat then has been the qualifying star this weekend. But the Russian is a guest driver and not eligible to score points. Jan Mardenborough. Then P7 on the grid for the Carlin driver, Jan Mardenborough. And then down to P8 we go, and Harry Tinknell is the next to show. P8 on the grid. Tinknell is currently in 5th place in the championship on 107 points, and crucially for this championship here at the Red Bull Ring, we reach the halfway stage. There's Lucas Auer, the Prima Power Team driver, who's P9 on the grid. You can see just how there at the back of that shot you can see the clouds there as we look at Antonio Giovinazzi, the RR Racing driver. That the weather conditions have improved from this morning. We've just had a Porsche race on, which started off with the track conditions very, very wet, but then the track drying out from almost from the start of the race, really. And alongside me is Sean Hollenby, who, like me, is just hot foot from the TV compound, which is really rather too far away. Roy Nassani, another one of the Mucker Motorsport drivers. We saw Felix Rosenqvist just a little while ago, but weather conditions now absolutely perfect for these Formula 3 cars, aren't they, Sean?
Yes, that's right. I mean, the track is much drier than it was on that previous Formula 3 race, so everybody will be starting on slicks, but the difficult thing is that into the first corner you've got half the track that's a damp track, so you know, it'll be quite interesting to see if we see any instance of people braking a little bit too late on that damp side, as everybody will be keen on moving over to the left, as we see Sven Muller, who was a driver who had a five-place penalty for an incident with Latifi yesterday. I've got to say it looked a little bit like a racing incident, but the stewards saw it slightly differently, and they've got a bit more information than I have. And he's been put back 5 places, so he won't be very pleased with that. But it's a long race, and you can make up for those places. But again, there's various places around the circuit where there's damp patches under braking areas on the inside, and it'll be interesting to see if any of these guys make any mistakes on these first 2-3 laps when they're desperate to get past the car ahead.
Also taking a 5-place grid penalty was Josh Hill, but that for a different incident. That was for yellow flag, speed through yellow flag sector. So Josh Hill further down the grid order than he would like is down there on row 12.
Well, Josh, yellow flag, I mean, it's a shame for Josh there. I mean, the yellow flag penalties as they go away on their warm-up lap here, and you can see as you come up to the first corner, you'll see that big dark area of track where it's going to be very, very wet for these guys, especially very light single seats again on the inside there. So they'll be keen to keep over to the left-hand side of the track to keep off of that. But it's been a big talking point this weekend with yellow flag incidents that have been gaining 5-place grid drops. There's 3 drivers in the DTM who've also got that, and the driver's not very happy about it. You know, that it's very difficult to say because it is a safety issue, but maybe there's something that we need to look at just to see if there's a better way of finding out, you know, who's going too quickly under yellow flags really.
Now qualifying, and this is the first race where we've seen the points leader, Raffaele Marciello, on the front row of the grid. We'll explain more in just a moment as we run through the grid. Kvyat from Marciello, then it's Rosenqvist, the 2 out of 2 for Felix Rosenqvist so far. Jordan King, Nicholas Latifi, then it's Lucas Wolff and Jan Mardenborough. Harry Tinknell and Luca Auer, 8 and 9, and Antonio Giovinazzi, P10. Then we see Nissani, Eddie Cheever, Pippo Durrani, then P13. Will Buller, then change of team for the rest of his campaign, P14. Then Blomqvist, Gilbert, Sven Muller, Lewis Rudersdorf, and Alex Lynn. Muller, of course, as Sean explained, going back down the order because of a 5-place grid penalty. Then we see Dennis Van der Laar, Felix Sorales, Josh Hill, another one that's been penalised for this grid, Sean Galael, Grenagan. Then it's Tatiana Calderon, Sandro Zeller, and Richard Spike Goddard right at the back of the pack. So yes, talk has been of qualifying, and qualifying conditions were pretty awful, to be honest. Marciello, this is the first time we've seen him on the front row of the grid. Now he has had his points advantage eroded, hasn't he, by Felix Rosenqvist, who has really taken advantage of his starts, and of course gone on to take 2 victories. We see some dark clouds looming overhead.
Yeah, I mean the driver who was fantastic in qualifying was Kvyat, who was been on pole for all 3 races in wet conditions. Marciello was very poor, surprisingly, in the first 2, but in the last one he seemed to really pull it out of the bag. Now there's been a lot of talk in the paddock that of different batches of tyres, wet tyres brought to this race compared to other races, which make a big difference in performance, which logically seems sensible. I have to say that teams and drivers will always try and find any reason other than their own failings to be slow in qualifying, but as they line up on the grid, that's all forgotten now. The track's dry, Kvyat's on pole, and Marciello's alongside him, and he desperately needs to further extend his championship lead because he's lost a good 35-40 points over those last 2 races. Well,
Marciello then on the side of the track, which has been favoured by many of the racers, so we will see if Marciello is able to take advantage of that, and on that uphill drag into the first turn, which is the right-hander turn 1, whether Marciello is going to have his nose in front. The one to watch for is going to be Felix Rosenqvist, who of course also needs to keep on his points charge as we see the lights go on. Green flag from the marshal at the back of the track, 5 lights on, they're out, and Marciello and Kvyat get away. Felix Rosenqvist, a good start from him, less of a good start from Jordan King.
Yeah, Kvyat's lost that pole position advantage, and Rosenqvist has gone down the inside of him as well, but Marciello's got himself into the lead. They all get through fairly without any damage anyway. As they come down to the hairpin, it looks like Kvyat's gone to the left, to the outside of Marciello as they come under braking to the hairpin. He's got Rosenqvist looking to the inside, Marciello late on the brakes, but Kvyat even later, but not late enough. So that looks Marciello into the lead, Kvyat second, and then Rosenqvist looking to get down the inside of Kvyat as they come into the next right-hander.
Well, great to see all the cars get away, and Marciello doing exactly what he needed to do, capitalise on the dirty side of that track to make the start his own. But he's got Rosenqvist right behind him. Alongside him then is Daniel Kvyat.
And you can see that dark piece of track there, which is very wet. Rosenqvist had the run, but then tried to put the power down on the damp track as he goes round the outside. As Marciello's lost the lead, Kvyat's retaken it, but Rosenqvist goes all the way round the outside. Very brave move. and again goes round the outside here again. Very brave. He needs this win a lot more than Marcello, so he can take a lot more risks. He needs Marcello not to be scoring good points here as Kvyat pushes Marcello onto the wet grass. Kvyat moving around left and right, desperate to keep that second place at the moment, which is allowing Rosenqvist to pull away.
Well, Rosenqvist is really, really on a charge here. Absolutely brilliant to see. Rosenqvist, who's been so dominant across the weekend so far. So we complete the first lap of 24 here at the Red Bull Ring for the FIA European F3 Championship.
I mean, here we go here, and Marcello's under all sorts of pressure. He's got Latifi alongside him there as they turn into the first corner. A little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact, but Latifi, I think, has made that play stick. And just behind them there, we've got King pressuring Marcello. So Marcello's fighting his way backwards, which I'm surprised. I thought he'd make the most of that position. Oh, I see. No, sorry, Marcello's just ahead. Sorry, I think that's...
and out there is Jan Mardenborough.
It's a huge shunt there. That's 2 cars involved.
Yes, also down there is... Pippo Durrani, is it? No.
18, car 18.
No, that's Dennis van der Laar.
Right, that's quite a big... looking for a safety car. Yeah, there's the safety car board. So that'll allow things to settle down a bit after extremely exciting.
Big damage there for Mens Granigan. Look at that. The wheel is hanging on the cockpit of the car, Sean.
Yeah, that's right. I'd like to see a replay of that. I'm not quite sure where it is. It looks like the first corner, possibly. And another car off as well.
That's Tom Blomqvist.
There's 4 cars involved in this possible incident. He's lost his nose cone there. I'd love to see a replay.
That's one of the Mucker cars that's out as well. That looks like... I couldn't quite see. But that was obviously one heck of an incident, which wasn't on our cameras. But here, I guess we're going to see it.
And again, locks up on that dirty, wet side of the track. But it's further back. We've got a spin in the middle of the track and then collected as he carries on spinning. A little bit unsighted, gets hit there and hit by, that's a huge, great accident. Hopefully all the drivers are fine. It's very strong, these Dallara Formula 3 cars, but as soon as the car gets airborne, single-seater racing, it becomes a little bit of a lottery. But yes, as he comes through there, that's it. That's seen all the cars through. And again, there's another incident. This is further around the lap, actually, not part of that incident, where it looks like maybe he's hit the back of a car ahead of him, which has broken the front suspension.
Mitch Gilbert flying across the gravel there.
So, not a good day in the office for a couple of those drivers there. It'd be good to see, make sure the driver... Here's a higher view here, and I think we get a better look. So that's 27.
That's Mardenborough going round.
Mardenborough spinning, getting clipped by... that's Blomqvist who clipped him, but then there's the unsighted car, which just hits him fairly full on, to be honest. He'll have a sore neck tomorrow, and then gets launched over the top. And a very nasty incident, covers the track in carbon fibre. And that'll take a couple of laps just to sort that mess out, I think. And again, another view here, again, spinning round. You can see just been clipped by Blomqvist, and again, we see the blue and white car there, just bang, hits him fairly, and then get launched over the top as well. The guys behind do well to avoid that as they come through the middle of that melee. And yes, not a pretty sight, really. And...
there's Grenhagen, then Mans Grenigan, the Swedish driver from Van Amersfoort, with, as we saw, that wheel just hanging on the cockpit there. Well, that's good to see. Jan Mardenborough is getting out of his car seemingly okay. And as you've said, Sean, all we want to see is those drivers, that they're all perfectly okay, because that was one heck of an incident. Tom Blomqvist's car being lifted there and put on the low loader. And, well, just look at that collection of bits now, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm quite interested as well to see another view of that first lap from Rosenqvist, because he was absolutely flying, extremely brave. Around 2 left-handers, he was round the outside of Marcello, Kvyat, and just kept his foot in, really. And maybe he's got a new career in oval racing, because he doesn't seem to be mind going round the outside of people flat out through left-handers.
Well, the one who didn't make a particularly good start, I felt, was Jordan King, and he's gone backwards, hasn't he? But then was becoming more aggressive as the lap progressed.
That's right. I mean, also Latifi as well. I mean, both those drivers were looking good, and they sort of benefited a little bit. Marcello, I thought, had dropped back a little bit further than he had, but I got confused with his teammate. But Marcello had a good first start, and I thought he was on his way, but seemed to get eaten up. That's Mitch Gilbert, who had that contact. I don't know if we got a better shot of him. I think he collected the back of a car into that downhill braking right-hander and just knocked the front corner off of the car, but that's the end of his day. So, and as we look here,
that's Kvyat.
So this is the start replay as we get here. I think you'll see Rosenqvist gets a good getaway there, and further back.
Slow away.
Yeah, slow away there, but as they come up to the first corner, you'll see Marciello takes the lead. Rosenqvist follows him through, and quite forcefully Kvyat tries to push him inside but doesn't quite make it. And but then out of there, Kvyat gets a great run out of this first corner. Marciello's a little bit circumspect being the first car through there, and Kvyat gets a run down to the hairpin, and I think we're around about 3 abreast as they come down here. So again, Rosenqvist looking to the inside, darting to the right, but thinks better of it. Marciello holds the inside line, Kvyat gets pushed wide, and Rosenqvist gets a run on him down the inside, but actually it's further round the lap that Rosenqvist does a do-or-die move round the outside of both of them.
And Latifi was trying to charge around the outside there, wasn't he?
Yes, that's right. I mean, Latifi's been impressive all weekend, really, in every race that I've seen him in. Has a good sense of cars around him. And again, this instant. There's Mardenborough, gets clipped by Blomqvist. That's the end of Blomqvist's race, but not the bigger instant. Here we go here. I think this is car, I'm pretty sure this is 19 there, who, and again, gets launched over the back there. So, you know, a huge instant, that one, a big instant, but all the drivers seem to have got out their cars safely. I'm sure they'll feel a little bit sore tomorrow morning, but again, you can see shards of carbon fibre and fiberglass there coming off of the cars. Again, you've got to clean those away because it's very easy to cut a tyre and cause a puncture to these cars, because they're very, very sharp, those shards of carbon fibre.
Well, not the start that we'd hoped for, to be honest with you, but it is Rosenqvist that is doing a great job in terms of capitalising his performance across the course of this weekend. Been very, very impressive indeed. Kvyat is currently in second place, all the cars being led around by the safety car. Marciello then is P3. And then we see Auer and Latifi and King and Wolf and Tinknell. Then it's Durrani and Giovinazzi. The top 10 as it stands at the moment. Didn't do that very well, did they?
The front wing got tucked underneath the car, and then that it sort of brought the front end up. It's a tricky thing to lift because they're so light, the Formula 3 cars. You can see there, there's such a light car that, you know, for 500 odd kilos, I think, that it's difficult to tow it along when you haven't got 4 wheels on your wagon.
Yeah.
And again, the safety car leading the pack off the circuit there. The reason for that is to keep them out of all that carbon fibre shards, as the marshals do a great job clearing that space.
Now, whilst we understand why they're doing that, so that the marshals are protected and they can carry on cleaning, running those all those cars and all those tyres over, you know, a runoff area where there's, you know, there's marbles and there's debris anyway, isn't there? Sure.
There is, but it's not as
bad.
No, it's not as bad. I mean, it's a bit better of the two, really, to run them wide and rather than deliberately driving them straight through the muck there. But as they come down to the hairpin here, who we got? So we've got Rosenqvist in the lead, obviously safety car. Kvyat, Marciello's the loser there, having been on P2. Oya, Latifi, King, Wolf. Nobody's had a particularly. Wolf has gained a few places because he had that 5 grid drop.
Interestingly, Grenhagen is staying in the car as they lifted that onto the low loader.
Yeah, I don't quite know why that would be. I think you jump out. I think it's because he was being towed, really, and they were staying in it for that. But again, as they come through, again, there's a.
That's an end plate.
Yeah, it's a wing end plate. I think just being knocked out of the way. It won't have done any harm there, but in this gap it would be great to see Rosenqvist overtake for the lead, because that's definitely going to be the highlight of my Formula 3 weekend. Very, very brave to go around the outside there. I mean, you know, all these guys are desperate to win this race, so it's not as if you're out there with gentlemen drivers who are going to back off easily. You know that everybody, you know, with a helmet on out there is desperate to win this race.
Okay, a lot of people here at the Red Bull Ring to watch this FIA Formula 3 European Championship race. It's race 3 of the F3 races across the weekend, and see the cloud high in the sky there at the moment. There's no rain falling. It was predicted that we were going to have showers all day today. At the moment, it's not been the case. It's a wet start to the day, but there we see Grenhagen actually getting out of the car now. It's on the back of the low loader, so once that was lifted up and on.
He's hurt his leg a little bit limping there. Yeah. Again, it's very strong, those cars. I mean, it used to be common in that sort of instant that you'd have suspension wishbones puncturing through sort of space frame tubs, and and they're not as strong as they are nowadays. I mean, nowadays with the carbon fibre tub, Dallara make a fantastically safe race car, and the driver protecting cell that they sit in has got inside intrusion panels, so that part suspension can't come straight in and damage the driver's legs in that sort of instant.
That's good too. Rosenqvist then, Kvyat, Marcello, Auer, Latifi, King, Wolf, Tinknell, Durrani, Giovinazzi then the top 10. So Latifi, you were saying, has impressed you across the course of the weekend. Is currently P5. He was one of those that was trying to around the outside move, wasn't he, early on? Didn't quite pay off, but
that's right. I mean, I think he's got good awareness. I know he had the collision with Wolf yesterday, but I think he was more the case of the sandwich in the middle, to be honest, rather than the cause of that incident. And I think he's had. I'm always impressed with a driver who can defend well without being overly aggressively moving around the track, and he just placed his car in the position that made it difficult for the guy behind to actually get past, or impossible. Fair play to him. But when he has also got the pace, and also he was very aggressively looking for the lead into that hairpin on that first lap, and if things had turned out differently, possibly he could have got it.
Yes, possibly so. So we're on lap 5. The laps continue to count down under the safety car, of course, but there is a time limit on this race as well. I don't think we're going to have a problem. I think we're going to get the race run to its conclusion, but obviously that opening incident means that we are behind the safety car at the moment. So now Felix Rosenqvist then. Great opening lap from Felix. He's had a fantastic weekend, and now the points advantage Marcello has over Felix Rosenqvist is down to 42.5. So Felix has done a great job in clawing back that points advantage that Marcello had. Rosenqvist currently P1, Marcello P3.
Yeah, he's done everything he needs to do, really. I mean, he was the only car that he needs to beat, and it'd be, as I'm sure he knew at the weekend, he wanted to beat him by a big margin. The first race, Marcello did a great job and got himself back up to 4th place from 12th on the grid, but he started further back in the second race, only 16th, and it really didn't make much of an impression. I think only 12th, I think, something like that. So, not good for him, and didn't make much of an impression. And here, he qualified second, but I've got to say, he didn't look that impressive over that first opening lap, a little bit tentative. And that's the difficulty, really, because he's got everything to lose, and Rosenqvist hasn't. He's got to beat him, and he must beat him by a big margin. So actually, that's the difference in the driving there, because Marcello can't afford to, drive around the outside of two guys to try and take the lead, because he's got a championship lead to defend. Rosenqvist needs to do that to actually close that gap. And
as I said right at the start of the programme, Sean, for the FIA F3 European Championship, this event marks the halfway stage in the season.
Yes, that's right. So things have got to. If something's going to happen here, and if he is going to catch Marcello, he's got to do it now. Because if you leave it too late, then Marcello can just drive for points, and then you really got no chance. But he's close enough still to be able to make a move on for the championship. So scoring big points is what he's got to start doing. And there's Muller, who was involved in that incident with Latifi yesterday, and he got a 5-grid penalty for that. But he's had a good first opening lap. He's up to 7th place, so expect him to be pushing forward. And once the race restarts after safety car, then I expect him to be pushing further up the field.
Now, from a motivation for these drivers' point of view, of course, they're making their way in their motorsport careers, and of course, they will see two contemporaries from the F3 European Championship, Danny Juncadella, Pascal Wehrlein, both been elevated, if you like, into the DTM series now, and these guys are very, very conscious that being able to perform, and to perform very, very well in front of the assembled motor racing literati that's here at a DTM weekend is very, very important to them. We saw yesterday Dr. Helmut Marko was actually making trophy presentations here. I mean, my goodness me, if ever there was a showroom for these drivers, this is it, isn't it?
Well, definitely all these drivers, their aim is they want to get to Formula One. Now, that's easier said than done, and it's a hard job to do. But I mean, obviously from this championship, you've had Sebastian Vettel and you've had Paul di Resta as the most recent sort of people who've made their way up to Formula One and used this as an important stepping stone. And the reason they have done is because they've been able to show their talent in front of decision makers,
yes.
Whether it's manufacturers, as in Mercedes, BMW or Audi, but also they've been able to impress people like Red Bull, you know, who pay for these things to happen. So the important thing is that they're racing not in the middle of nowhere, with nobody really cares and nobody watches what they're doing. Again, this is this the shunt? This is the shunt again from similar angle, and there's Mardenborough going round, and again it's unfortunate here. To be honest with you, and the guy who hits him is completely unsighted there. Not a lot he can do about that. It's just unfortunate. It's if it had happened slightly differently, then they'd have all got past him, and then we'd have been looking at Mardenborough back in the race having. Except that he got clipped by Blomqvist. But the most important thing here is the cars are strong and the drivers are safe.
Yeah. So as we watch the replay of that incident unfolding again, and horrible incident that it was. Thankfully, everyone is okay. Just picking back up on what you were saying then, every driver, of course, his ambition is to be into Formula One. That's what he's going for. But to pick up on the point I was making about Pascal Wehrlein and also Danny Juncadella now in the DTM, there are now other options, aren't there?
That's exactly right. That's what I was going to follow on to, because Formula One is obviously their target. They want to be Formula One drivers. And the lights have gone out on the safety car here, so we've got a race start here. And now we're looking at Rosenqvist backing the field back,
yes,
backing up, waiting for that jump. Any second now, he'll be foot flat to the throttle, and away he goes. So, and I think that's the point he went. So that's the important thing with a rolling start. If you're the safety car restart, back the field up, then get a good nail. You can see there, he's got 5-6 lengths there, just because he can decide when he puts his foot down. He's got the choice of when to go. He's not waiting for a green light.
He is effectively pacing it, isn't he? So, right. We are away and racing once again. Rosenqvist, Kvyat, Marcello, Auer, Latifi, King, Wolf and Tinknell then occupying the top 8 positions. We see some movement further down the order there. So we get this really, really high shot from the camera up on the cherry picker there. But we are away and racing once again. We're on lap 8 of 24.
Yeah, so these guys will be keen to not allow Rosenqvist to get away too much. But I've got to say he's done everything right as they go side by side.
So Jordan King there going around the outside.
King. But I think and again Marcello there puts a wheel on the grass. A couple run wide as they come by. I think that's allowed Marcello. He's under pressure just behind. Actually, he's lost that place. So yes, Marcello ran wide into the hairpin. Whether under braking, be interesting to see a replay of that. And he's under pressure now as he goes underneath. I think he's lost a couple of places there. That's King. I think that could be Marcello as well. Let's have a little look. If we see, if it is, then I think I'm pretty sure it is. I think Rosenqvist's team will be cheering in the pits. Yes, it is. It is him who's dropped back. So another bad lap for Marcello there. He's lost another further places. So he's not confident with that car this weekend for whatever reason, whether it's wet or dry conditions. And he's dropped 4 or 5 places there as he tries to go round the yard side of Durrani, who was involved in an incident yesterday with his teammate Alex Lynn. But Durrani holds that place as we've got Rosenqvist, who's held the lead, the gap, and as we've got side-by-side battle. I think that's Latifi and King again at it going into the first corner. But that looks like King's made that place now, so he's got ahead of, and that's is it Ticknell as well, who's up in the top 4 there. So this is very close, typical Formula 3 slipstreamer here. Yeah, very much so. And well, as we see the action continuing here, Harry Tinknell there on the inside and trying to go through there. Now we've seen various lines taken there, and if you get it absolutely right, it's bang on. If you get it wrong and you just run off a little bit, you're in very, very big trouble there. So being chased down, Lucas Auer now. Yeah, King's on the move. He's the man he's one of the quickest ones out there at the moment, and he's definitely pressuring Auer, and I would think he's looking to get past her as quickly as possible to maybe get up into the top, on podium position, but also chased after Kvyat in second place. So we saw Tinknell going through there as well at the same point. So as we're roaring down this Formula 3 race on lap 9 of 24, there is Raffaele Marciello, who's not having a brilliant time of it at the moment. He's got Nicholas Latifi behind him, so we can see there Harry Tinknell just going through.
Out front, Rosenqvist then has got just under a second over Kvyat. Then it's Auer, then it's King. Then it's Tincknell, Durrani and Marcello down there in P7 now.
I think as they come out of that last corner, it's going to be a bit damp on the outside. Saw a couple of cars there. That's the two. So I think that's Nassani and Wolf, I think, who are battling over that position. But again, it's off track, whereas yesterday it would have been dry. Again, he looks around the outside as they come down to the hairpin. It's going to be the last of the breakers. They're three abreast coming down here. And who's going to come out ahead? And it does look like, yes, it does look like it's Nassani, who's driven well this weekend, I think. But again, as they come down here, we're coming one on the grass on the inside there, but comes back on again. As they come down to this braking point here, just behind this gaggle, we've got a huge gaggle coming here.
Giovinazzi could take advantage of this. And Giovinazzi there in the yellow 17 car. He got that dead right, didn't he?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, thought about it. Didn't go too late on the brakes and just took advantage of everybody being a bit impetuous.
Oh! I said, just as I said, is he going to lose out now? Goodness me, I couldn't have predicted that.
And a bit of contact again. It's side by side into a sort of blind corner. There's another car with its nose cone off. And again, it's a shame. Giovinazzi there was doing a good job and keeping out of trouble. And as they come down here, I think it's just... it's just one of those incidents, to be honest, and more of a racing incident than anything else. As he comes back across to take his line, in fairness, Giovinazzi was moving right, but the car behind him, can't quite see from this angle who it was moved. I think just tried to give him a little tap there, just to let him know he was there, but a little bit heavy-handed with it. But I've got to say, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other there, really. Unfortunate, because Giovinazzi was having a good run and looking pretty strong. Oh, that's Cheever. Must be Cheever, because I can recognise that helmet. That's the only way I can tell you it is. Yeah, the famous helmet of his father, Eddie, who was obviously in Formula 1, sports cars, Indy cars, you name it, with 4 wheels. He's driven it.
And Sven Muller there, look, with damage at the front.
Yeah, not a good couple of races for Sven, and he was going well that first start. He did brilliantly. But back up the front, there we are, 2 drivers having a chat. To be honest, guys, you might as well not talk about it. It's one of those things. Move on. Think about the next meeting, really.
Cheever clearly not happy with that.
No,
well,
that's right.
I mean, we saw that unfold in front of us, didn't we? And I think you called that probably just right, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, it's a racing incident, and really the key point for both of them there to learn is that try and drive straight. If you start driving left and right when you've got cars around you, it's going to end in tears, and as it did then. But interestingly, Kvyat is looking pretty strong. He's holding that gap to Rosenqvist. That lap he actually lost a little bit of time, just as I said that, but actually previously he'd been holding that gap, because actually Kvyat is he's an invite. Oh, here we go, coming into the hairpin again. I think that's number 30. That's Hill, actually, Josh Hill, making his way through the field after that 5-place penalty, and then further back just behind them, there's got Hill's being pressured again by Serrani, I think.
No, it's Will Buller.
Oh, is it Will Buller? Right, okay, so it's Englishman versus the Irishman as they go into the hairpin. Will Buller loses a little bit of time under braking. Hill makes that place stick, and he's got himself a little bit of the lead. But interesting, Josh Hill is a big learning experience. I think it's important to come over here and learn a few different tracks rather than the British tracks that he's been learning in Formula Ford and Formula Renault over the last 2-3 years. But had some race wins, had some good performances, so it'll be interesting to see how his season pans out. But take it. This series is a difficult series. Huge amount of talent out there. So to do well in this, you've got to be at the absolute top of your game.
So Rosenqvist then, and you were saying just before we got into that incident there that we saw that Kvyat, of course, an invitation, isn't he? It's a guest driver only, so the points charge is not important to Kvyat, but it is absolutely crucially important to everybody else that is out there. And Rosenqvist at the moment with a 1.1 second advantage over Kvyat is making good that leading position that he has. Lucas Auer then is some 5.1 seconds back down the road.
Yeah, and also Kvyat then has just put the fastest lap of the race in, which I think he made a little mistake on the previous lap because he had been catching Rosenqvist. But actually, Kvyat's been supreme in the wet conditions on Friday. Hasn't been quite so good in the dry of the last two races, but I've got to say in this race he seems to have looked at the data, gone back to the garage last night and worked on the car, and he's definitely made some improvements because now he seems to have the car under him that's quick, if not quicker than Rosenqvist, as he just puts a sector that's taken another 2/10 out of Rosenqvist's lead. So I think in the next couple of laps you're going to see Kvyat pushing forward and possibly pressuring Rosenqvist, and I think Rosenqvist will probably go, do I really need to battle for this win when I'm going to get maximum points for second place if Kvyat's in front of me? I think his team will advise him sensibly there, and I don't think we'll see the strongest. Having said that, now Rosenqvist has just gone fastest in the middle sector, which was responded to by Marciello as well, who's still down in 6th and doesn't seem to be making much of a progress at the moment.
So Felix Rosenqvist then is leading from Danny Kvyat, and then Lucas Auer in P3 as we see the drag uphill here to the first turn, the right-hander, which is the scene of that awful crash earlier on in this Formula 3 race. Rosenqvist, Kvyat, Auer, King, Tinknell, Marciello, Pippo Durrani, then Nicholas Latifi is P8 with Nissany, Lynn, Wolf. Then we see Hill, Sorales and Buller. And the American Michael Lewis and Andre Rudersdorf is P16.
I mean, Michael Lewis again was as we get a couple of the back markers as they come up. There's Joe Zeller trying to push his way past.
That's Tatiana Calderon.
As they come into, so they're coming down to the hairpin, should get a good tow here as they pops out to the left-hand side of the track. But again, that's not the place to be unless you are last in the late breakers. Tatiana dives down the inside, keeps the power on, nice and tidy, as these guys battle their way around the Red Bull ring here. But again, having another look in the background as more back markers come further down the field, and again Zeller looks to the outside, and it's going to be a little bit easier to get if you can get down the inside there, but easier said than done.
We saw Lewis and Rudersdorf having a battle as well, but we're focusing on this at the moment, and well, trying very, very hard here. Tatiana Calderon doing the defending absolutely correctly. And, well, Sandro Zeller then in the very, very distinctive all-yellow machine, trying to find a way past. And, as you said, it's not easy, is it?
No, that's right. Once the driver gets into the defensive mode and all they're thinking about is defending, then it's very hard to get past because they just constantly placing themselves, especially this circuit, which is followed, right-handers followed by left-handers, as we see Josh Hill there fighting through the field. It's difficult to overtake in a Formula 3 car. You've got to have a good car advantage and also be very brave on the brakes.
So Josh Hill at the moment then down there in P12 here in this third of the three races. We see Lucas Wolf and Josh Hill here. And, well, Josh had a good time of it in Hockenheim, and making his way in his motorsport career, and of course coming from the family that he does, Sean, everybody expects great things, and Josh is looking pretty promising at the moment, it has to be said, as he's hounding Wolf now.
Yes, that's right. I mean, he's quite a bit quicker than Wolf here. I mean, Josh has done a great... I remember seeing a Formula Ford race that was supporting the British touring cars, and he was great fun to watch. Very entertaining, very brave, very late on the brakes as well. So, which is always a good sign. Late racing drivers should be good late on the brakes. It's always a button to pick. Just at the front there, we've got Kvyat, who's just done fastest lap of the race there. Just pulled up 3/10 on Rosenqvist that lap, but Hill's done a good job. I think here it's a big learning curve. European Formula 3 is at a very high level, and I think there's lots of experience to be gained here.
Bit sideways there for Alex Lynn then in car number 2. We just saw that, and
Lynn is quite quick, and he should be able to quickly get past Nissany, and looks to the outside. He'll look for the cutback, and gets a good run, but not good enough. Nassani covers both angles, both coming into the hairpin and coming out of it. But Alex Lynn is quite a bit quicker, so needs to get past. Doesn't want to waste too much time with Nassani, because he can push his way into the top 10 here if he can. He goes bravely round the outside,
yes,
and that's the way to do it. And again, just gets a nice clean exit, so that should be Nassani dispatched. And next up on his list, he's got Latifi, I think.
So that was a good move, wasn't it? And played that out perfectly. That for P9, as we see
that's
now Zeller going around.
Yeah. Put the left-hand wheel on the wet curbing on the outside and just pirouetted round as he tried to accelerate. But again, no damage done. I'm sure he's got himself going, but we'll be a little bit disappointed with that. So that drops him off the back of that battle he was having with Tatiana Canleron.
Well, you may have noticed at the top of your screen, we've changed from laps to time, because the elongated safety car period, as we cleared up the horrible mess from the incident earlier on, means that this race is going to run to time rather than to laps. So Rosenqvist leading. He's got a 1.4 advantage over Kvyat in second place. Then it's Luke Sauer and Harry Tinknell, then Jordan King, then Marciello down there in P6.
Yes, then there is Marciello, and again, similar lap times to the guys ahead of him, so it doesn't look like he's going to be pushing through and taking, reducing that points deficit that he's losing at the moment to Rosenqvist as they come through here. This will be, if Marciello does end up losing this championship to Rosenqvist, this will be the weekend.
This will be the weekend, won't it?
Yeah, he'll look back and go, that was the weekend when it all started going wrong. But he's got a good team underneath him with Premier Power team, and I'm sure they'll go back and just see exactly what went wrong this weekend, and then work on it and push on from there. Whereas the Mucker Motorsport team will go back and say, yeah, that's great.
More of the same.
Thanks very much. Yeah, let's keep doing that again and again, and then they will be in the position to be able to challenge for the championship lead once we get to the final round.
Now, you run a racing team, Sean. How difficult is it to pull a driver up to Marciello's had a bad weekend at the office, hasn't he? And you've got to pick him back up as they head off to the next event and build his confidence back up. It's tricky.
It depends on the personality, to be honest, because as in all, and just quickly there, we've got Latifi having a look down at the inside of Durrani, a little bit of movement around in the braking area, which I'm sure doesn't go down too well, but Durrani keeps that place. Latifi hasn't looked quite so impressive in this race as he had in the earlier races. But again, just going back to your earlier question, again, it does depend on... having said that, it dives from a very long way back there. I didn't think Durrani saw that one coming, I'm sure, because I definitely didn't.
But also taking advantage there, Alex Lynn in the mix.
That's right. Well, a great move from Latifi, very late on the brakes, but...
now Lynn is having a go at Latifi.
That's right, but I think he's safe here. Latifi should dive down the inside here. That's right, exactly. And keeps on the power clean exit. But Lynn has been quick this weekend and hasn't had quite the results to back up that speed. But Latifi, again, and we got another incident there.
Scaliel, who's gone around there, and Andre Rodersdorf, I think that was. But there's Sean Galliel. See that again.
Again, coming into the hairpin, there's a lock up from the car on the inside. Tags. There's again. I see. I think does the car. That's it. Bounces on the left-hand side with a little bit of traction. Again, not good when the car comes up in the air, but and again bounces on the outside, loses a bit of traction. Wheel on the dirt, which pirouettes him over to the right. If the car hadn't been there, he'd have spun off to the right-hand side. But unfortunately, then the car was there. They collected it, and they may be able to carry on there. But I think there's a fair bit of damage to both cars there.
Yes, I think you're right, and. So Rudersdorf then.
So we got a final lap here. Rosenqvist done a great job. Couldn't have done any better, really. Final lap here. He's maximised the advantage and the performance advantage he had over Marciello, and Marciello hasn't been able to do much about it, to be honest. So a great weekend from him. And Kvyat, I think, is a name you want to remember, because that's 3 second places to Rosenqvist wins. Again, not the experience that Rosenqvist has in this series at this level. So I think you're looking at a driver, and again, a Russian driver.
I was going to say,
it's
good to see a young Russian, because a very, very important market, a very, very important circuit now in Russia. It's good to see that happening, isn't it? And Daniel Kvyat has done a great job here qualifying and confirming that with seconds in the race. But Felix Rosenqvist, well, he could not have done any better as he locks up his wheels going across the line there. Felix Rosenqvist then, what a weekend he's had here at the Red Bull Ring. Danny Kvyat crosses the line in second place, Auer in third, with Tinknell fourth, King fifth, and Marciello then in sixth place. And there's Peter Mucker certainly. But Rosenqvist really has done a great job this weekend, and I think you're right. I think Marciello, if he reflects upon things, will think this is the weekend where, it was just a wrong one for him, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right. I mean, again, they'll go back to a huge amount of camber on the front right there on that car, compared to some of the others. But going back to the drivers, I mean, yes, it's all important. Really, that it depends on how strongly willed the driver is. But if they have a bad weekend, it can completely destroy a driver. I mean, obviously the best. I mean, probably one of the best known ones for that sort of thing is long time ago, Carlos Reutemann. Has a bad weekend. He really just goes completely off the boil. I think, to be honest with you, the drivers nowadays, they've been racing from such an early age.
Yes.
It just becomes normal. You have to get used to motor racing. Unfortunately, is 95% disappointment and 5% exhilaration, which is and they've got used to that from the age of 5 or 6 racing karts. That they don't really tend to think about it too much anymore. But great weekend for the Mucker Motorsport team, and they'll be really, really pleased with all the work that goes on behind the scenes to make a race-winning Formula 3 car.
So Felix Rosenqvist really has capitalised on all the opportunities that he's had, and well, there we see him then on his slowing down lap. He'll be heading off towards the podium in due course. We look at the crowds that look on here with the snow peaks in behind, providing a really rather beautiful motor racing shot here, and it is a remarkable racing circuit, not only for its challenges but also for the scenery that it provides. And there is Sean Galliel, the Indonesian, stuck in that KFC supported car. Andrew Merritt and myself at Hockenheim thinking that clearly the Indonesian KFC franchisee
right, okay,
passing on and pushing Galliel into Formula 3 stardom, we hope. Okay, the result then, Felix Rosenqvist, he's a star right at the top there, number 1 again. Danny Kvyat, P2. Lucas Auer, P3. Then it's Tinknell and King, and Marciello, P6. Disappointed with that. Latifi P7, Alex Lynn P8. Pippo Durrani then in P9 with Roy Nassani from the Mucker Motorsport team in P10. Then we see Wolf and Josh Hill there up to P12. Sorales Buller, his first weekend for Fortec Motorsports, is changed from his 3-bond team. P14, then it's Lewis Goddard, Calderon, Rudersdorf, Sandro Zeller, and Galliel there. With Muller, Giovanazzi and Cheever and Mardenborough and Blomqvist and Gilbert and Grenigan, and they're all out. Van der Laart as well from the various incidents that we've seen, the most crucial one being right at the opening of the races. Felix Rosenqvist takes delight and is congratulated by the engineers and mechanics from the Mucker Motorsport team, and there is Peter Mucker waiting patiently for his hug. And there.
I mean, we finished commentating last night. It was interesting to see. We actually saw the Mucker Motorsport team. I mean, I don't know what time it was, probably about 8:30, 9 o'clock. We just finished because the delayed Porsche race. But the guys were still working very hard in the garages. I mean, the cars were completely stripped down. So they had a lot of work to do, but it's easy to forget that there's a huge team that's behind all these cars and these drivers to make these results happen. And the race days at a racing circuit, they're long days. You're here early at sort of 6:30, 7 o'clock, latest really, and you're here till 9, 10 o'clock at night, making sure that the car's in tip-top condition.
And something else that's crucial as these motor racing stars of the future develop, of course, Sean, here in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, is the relationship that the driver has with his team and, crucially, his race engineers as well, because that is part of the learning process, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. I mean, it's a very close-knit thing. If you think you're out there, the only contact you really have on the radio is with your race engineer, and it's a very personal experience because they're living the race with you. I know which I do that job when we're in touring cars. I'm on the radio with the drivers, and as an engineer, not that I'm a great data engineer, just do it from experience, to be honest. But on the radio, I love being involved with the driver, and you really do feel that you're part of that performance, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, and I think, courtesy of Formula One, to be honest, we've begun to realise just how important that relationship is, and the feedback and the motivation, and well, there's Rosenqvist. Needs no more motivation, does he? What a weekend he's had, Felix Rosenqvist.
Yeah, he's done a great job, and the team's done a great job. I mean, it's a little bit going back to the engineer. If you think about if you're down the gym and you've got a trainer with you who's pushing you and egging you on and pushing you to do better, you'll just work so much harder than you just do it on your own. And as much the same in a racing car, unless you're Kimi Räikkönen, who says, "Yes, big lad, I know what I'm doing." But most other drivers.
What an accent that was!
Sign me up. It's like new faces here today.
Dear, oh dear. Okay, so once again we saw Peter Mucker there, of course, heading up that team, and what a great job he's doing. Lovely beauty shot here, Sean, of the snow here in Austria, and, well, this circuit, the Red Bull Ring, very, very nice circuit in terms of facilities, and it's quite a challenging circuit as well. Lots of undulations, as you said right at the beginning of the program, and you've got to nail those corners absolutely right. Now here it is, crucially. Look at this, Marciello 239.5, Felix Rosenqvist now within shouting distance of that on 212 points. Lucas Au P3 in the points, and then it's Lien and Tinknell and Blomqvist, who of course didn't finish that race, which was a shame, and Sorales P7, then it's King, Muller and Josh Hill P10 in the points. But Marciello is the big loser here this weekend. Rosenqvist the big winner.
Yes, that's right. We had a massive lead going here. He's not far off 100 points, I think, and now it's down within half a point of a race win victory. So it only needs the next race Marciello to non-finish and Rosenqvist to win, and suddenly there's half a point between them, as a cameraman gives us a little wave.
Hardy cameraman.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, we did rave back. You just can't see us. That's all.
Right, we'll be getting on with the podium in just a couple of moments' time, as just in front of us we see the Sean Gallio car being towed back into the pit lane, because our commentary booth is right opposite the start of the pit lane complex, if you like, right towards the back of the grid. This race that Rosenqvist has won, and won convincingly, with Kvyat and the second and third place drivers. That podium comes your way in just a couple of moments' time, and thankfully the conditions that were predicted, I mean, everyone yesterday talking about the weather and what it was going to bring for Sunday, so far hasn't materialised.
No, that's right, and I'm looking at the commentary box. There's a lot of cloud, but there's also a lot of blue sky as well. So I would say at the moment we're looking at a dry DTM race later on in the day, as we see these guys who are looking possibly at a Formula One career, but possibly trying to impress some of the manufacturers here this weekend to see if they can get their backsides in a DTM car for next year.
Well, there's Danny Kvyat on the right-hand side, and there going through is Felix Rosenqvist. Well, it's a well-worn route for Felix Rosenqvist this weekend, isn't it? He knows his way there.
That's right. He's not going to make a mistake and know it. I think they've just taped the flag up the top there, so they know exactly who's going to be up there. But great. I mean, I've got to say, those two left-handers on that first lap, that's when he won that race. I mean, fantastic. Very, very brave. And Kvyat's been impressive as well in second place. Looks a little bit taller than the other guy, so maybe a DTM route might be better for him than Formula One. But and also Oyer, I think he's had a good weekend as well, shown good speed, and ends the weekend on a podium. He'll be pleased.
So the Carlin boys there down there to support their Russian driver. There's the Mucker Motorsport representative up on the podium as well, as we pause right now for national anthem. So national anthem done and dusted, Sean, and trophies about to be handed out and presented to our top 3 drivers, and of course the winning team as well. And it's Dr. Peter Mennel, then a member of the Games Committee, then that's making the trophy presentation to Felix Rosenqvist. And then Manfred Sandbichler was in the same hotel as him a couple of weeks ago, motorsport manager from Hankook Tyres. Didn't buy me a drink, as I recall. And then, once again, the Dr. Peter Mennel.
Auch da total übergeben. Und Manfred Sandbichler nochmal für Hankook Tire Europa an. Lukas Auer!
So Luke Sauer then collecting his trophies. See the Carlin boys down there. They move in for the photos, and you're absolutely right. Kvyat is a tall guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's head and shoulders. I mean, I'm quite tall as well. Not that I'd have ever got to Formula 1, but the thing is, I think you're going to struggle at that sort of height to get yourself in a Formula 1 car. Having said that, Mark Webber's done all right, hasn't he? He's pretty tall as well, so let's not write him off yet.
Well then, as the podium celebrations play out, Sean and myself say thank you very much for being part of 3 very, very exciting Formula 3 races across the course of the weekend, and it's a weekend that, it's fair to say, Felix Rosenqvist, that man there, has made his own. Make sure you join us for the next round of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. Bye-bye for now.